In 1972, a Ford Pinto got rear-ended at barely 20 miles an hour on a freeway in Santa Ana, California, and within seconds the back seat was engulfed in flame. A 13-year-old boy named Richard Grimshaw survived with burns covering 90% of his body. The driver, a woman named Lily Gray, did not survive at all. What made this crash different from 1,000 ordinary fender benders wasn't the speed of the impact. It was a decision made years earlier, inside Ford Motor Company, about exactly this kind of car. Ford's engineers had placed the Pinto's fuel tank directly behind the rear axle, with almost no crumple space and a cluster of bolts positioned right where they could puncture the tank on impact. Internal crash testing showed the tank could rupture and leak gasoline in rear collisions as slow as 20 miles per hour, turning the entire car into a fireball in seconds. Ford knew this before the first Pinto ever rolled off the assembly line in Dearborn in 1970. A simple rubber bladder or a metal shield behind the tank would have stopped it cold. The part would have cost $11 per car to install. Instead, Ford ran the numbers. An internal document that later became known as the Pinto Memo weighed the cost of installing that $11 fix across every car against the projected cost of settling lawsuits, valuing a single human life at $200,000, fixing all 12.5 million Pintos and Bobcats on the road, about $137 million, paying out for the deaths and injuries Ford's own engineers expected to happen instead, about $49.5 million. On paper, it was cheaper to let people burn. We post one of these every single day, so subscribe now if you don't want to miss the next one. Ford kept building and selling the car exactly as it was, for years, without changing a bolt. That math stayed buried until a young journalist named Mark Dowie got hold of Ford's internal paperwork and published Pinto Madness in Mother Jones magazine in September 1977. The article laid out the memo, the $11 part, and the death toll in plain numbers, and it detonated across the country. Grimshaw's case went to trial in California, and when the jury heard exactly what Ford had chosen and why, they came back with $125 million in punitive damages, at the time the largest verdict of its kind in American history. Tell us in the comments if you'd have voted the same way on that jury. Under mounting pressure, Ford finally recalled 1.5 million Pintos in June 1978, 7 years after the first warning about the fuel tank had landed on an engineer's desk. Richard Grimshaw lived. He spent years and dozens of surgeries rebuilding a face and a body that a spreadsheet had decided weren't worth $11 to protect, and he became the walking argument that changed how American product liability law treats corporate cost-benefit decisions forever. Hit the bell so tomorrow's buried secret lands straight in your feed.